What is going on, guys? It's the Mad Dragon. We're back in the new setup today because I got an interesting video that I thought we'd do today. So, of course, the Lions tour is coming up super soon. I've got all the Lions stuff going on. If you've seen the other video of the new setup, why I've done this now for being on camera a little bit leading into these videos. So I thought what we'll do today is we'll go through a prediction video. And this isn't going to be like the prediction video I did for the Six Nations. This is instead going to be a prediction of the team that I think Gatland will pick going to this Lions tour. And it's been quite interesting to do. I've got my notepad down here. I know what I'm going to say. But it's quite interesting to think about. Not the team you would pick, and it's really hard to take a little step back from your own biases and who you'd want to go in a team, but actually to think about who the coaches will actually pick for this tour. So it's going to be quite interesting. So before everyone jumps in on the comments on how can you pick this guy? How could you not pick that guy? How have you got this many players from this team? This isn't who I would pick. If anyone wants to see the Lions team I would pick to play, I have actually done that video on the channel before. So go back and watch that if you want to see the team I would pick personally. But this is who I think Gatland is going to pick for his team. So make sure you drop down in the comments who you think he'll drop into his team. So it's a 36-man squad. That's what we're sort of led to believe he's going to go with from all the information we've heard. So let's start off with the front row. In the loose head department, a lot of people trying to show off in the Six Nations. I've narrowed it down to 3 that I would want. So I'm going to pick Wynne Jones, Mako Vunipola and Cian Healy. I think of the 3 main competitors I can see Gatland taking. Wynne Jones, for me, has been the most standout prop in that Six Nations in terms of the loose head. I think he's been doing really well. I think Mako Vunipola will go mainly because the ability he has to score off a try. He had in, I can't remember which game it was, he managed to score his try. The scrimmaging work for him has also been pretty good. And then Cian Healy, an experienced head, sometime to bring on, maybe a second half player, maybe not for the full game, but certainly a good standpoint. Moving on to the hooker. Again, I'm going to go for another 3 hookers for this one. So Ken Owens, I think, has been brilliant in this Six Nations. I think he's just had a superb tournament. No real negatives at all to talk about across his entire game. George Turner is someone I can see going. I think he did very well for Scotland. I know David Cherry, of course, had a couple of really good games where he got to show off himself, but I think that George Turner has been really, really good in this Six Nations. I think he deserves a shot. See how he can get on. And I think I can see with how many Scotland coaches they've got in that team, I think I can see Scotland players being pushed, trying to get more people into the team that from the Scotland department. And they had a good Six Nations. They came 4th, but realistically it was like a joint 3rd. They came 4th on points difference. But I think George Turner can see going. And finally, I think they're going to go for Luke Cowan-Dickie over Jamie George. I don't think Jamie George had the best tournament. I think Luke Cowan-Dickie absolutely showed off. The Island hookers, I think they interchanged an awful lot, and it didn't give you a good enough balance of who was going to go. So we'll see how it happens there, but I think they're going to go for Luke Cowan-Dickie. In terms of tight head, I think, of course, the first name I wrote down here, Tadhg Furlong, he will, of course, be going. I would be astonished if Gatland doesn't pick Tadhg Furlong, the standout tight head prop of the tournament. Really looking forward to see him in that Lions shirt, because I think everyone just assumes he will be going. Next on the list, so on, a lot of people might not think to put down, I think Tom Francis will be going. We know Gatland's connection with the Wales team, of course, the ex-coach for them. I think he will have a lot of reliance on the Wales players in this. They also won the Six Nations. Most of the coaches are Welsh or have worked with the Wales team before, so I can see a lot of Wales players going in, and I think Tom Francis had a good Six Nations. Defensively he was pretty sound. He had the game against England where he was all bandaged up looking outrageous. I can see Warren Gatland wanting a strong tight head prop, and I think if you have all 3 of the Welsh front row in that squad, I think I can see that working in his mind, so I think that's what he'll go for. And the final name I put down here is Kyle Sinclair. A lot of people might not think Kyle Sinclair, but one thing that Gatland does love is his strong set plays. It's hard to say considering some of the lineouts we've seen from Wales in the last few years, but he does like to have a good basis to build off. So I think he wants a strong scrum and the ability to win a scrum on the opponents. And there's one thing Kyle Sinclair does bring to a team is really solid scrummaging and even winning penalties against the head on his side. So I think he'll go for Kyle Sinclair in the tight head department. In terms of locks, I've gone for 5 locks for this team. It's quite difficult to do. 36 men is difficult to try and arrange. So first on the list, of course, Alan Wynne Jones. I can see him being the captain. I think he's pretty nailed on to be captain. I think, good head on his shoulders. He announced today that he's extending his contract out with the Ospreys as well, remaining in Wales. Warren Gatland worked with him very closely. I can definitely see him being in that team as the captain. From Ireland, I can see Ian Henderson and James Ryan being picked. I think they were very good in terms of locks. Maybe Adam Beard might get picked in there, but I just think Ian Henderson, in terms of the number 4 shirt, was better. He can also play 5 if he needs to. And then James Ryan as a captaincy tool. If you've got James Ryan and Alan Wynne-Jones maybe on at the same time, 4-5, you know, what a strong setup they have there. I think it works well for them. I've tried my best to find out about injuries and stuff, so take everything I'm saying with a pinch of salt. There could be some changes due to injuries and stuff. I try my best to try and work out who was out injured. The next time I wrote down, I think, again, Scottish contingency in the coaching team. They'll want to see more Scots in every department. I've gone for Johnny Gray. I think Johnny Gray had a good Six Nations. He did go out with an injury. As far as I'm aware, he's back up and running. Literally. So I think he'll be able to actually bolster that team. And I think with Scotland coaches in there, they'll try and get more Scotland awareness into this Lions team, trying to get more Scottish viewers. I think having Johnny Gray in there as well will be a good use. And finally, I think, of course, he will probably be going Maro Itoje. A lot of people very down on Maro Itoje from his Six Nations. He didn't actually have a bad Six Nations. He just got pinged a lot for penalties, going for the 50-50 chances that we know he does. Just needs to take a step back. He did it in the France game. He got the game-winning try against France. We got to see him when he plays at his best in some other games. But yeah, the Wales game for him was the big letdown. But I think the talent and the class that he has, I don't think Warren Gatland will overlook how useful he would be, especially at 4. Put Maro Itoje on at 4, put Alan Wynne on at 5. That's a strong lock department. I can't see Maro Itoje not going just because of how he performed in that sort of Wales game. So for me, I think Gatland will go for Itoje. Onto the back row. First name nailed on for me, Faletau, without a doubt. The standout number 8. He was my team, the tournament number 8. He was up for player of the tournament. Think he is a really, really good player at the minute, playing in good form. And I think number 8s are quite low on the ground going into this Lions tour. So I think Faletau is the first name nailed on. A couple of big decisions is that maybe people will disagree with, but I think he'll also go for Tipuric and Navidi. Warren Gatland likes his set structure. He's a very formulaic player. He likes defensive players. He likes lack of penalties being given, and he likes having a bit of knowledge on the people he's working with. And I think the 6-7-8 combo, Navidi, Tipuric, Faletau, is one he introduced. I can see it happening, and he likes these players being in the Lions teams. He likes them being in the Wales teams. I can see him wanting to bring it back. So for me, I've also got Tipuric and Navidi down. I also don't think a lot of 6s are putting their hands up for this Lions tour. Of course, a lot of people out through injuries or a lot of penalties given away. So I think Navidi might be a bit of a surprise shock, but I can definitely see Gatland going for it. Another Scottish player to add in here. A lot of people have been down on Scotland players, not picking an awful lot. I really think Scotland will have a lot of players in here based on how well they did in the Six Nations and Scotland coaches in that team. I think they'll go very well. So for me, I've gone for Hamish Watson. Some people have said they wouldn't pick Hamish Watson. He's player of the tournament. Whether you agree with that or not, I think he was superb in the Six Nations. I think as a number 7, nailed on, very, very good, especially against South African players. Big lads, they're going to come hard. You want big tacklers. You know how powerful Hamish Watson is with the ball in hand. I think he'll definitely be going on that tour. Tyburn, absolutely. For me, he was my player of the tournament, even though everyone went for Hamish Watson. I think Tyburn was absolutely outstanding. Having him in that back row, also being able to play 4 and 5, as well as chucking him in 6. Screw it, chuck him in 8, who cares? He can play anywhere. Get him in somewhere. I can definitely see Tyburn going. I would be genuinely shocked to not see Tyburn on that sheet. So much so I put a bet on, because I absolutely believe Tyburn is going to be going on that tour. We'll also add in here Curry. I think Tom Curry is one of the few England players that had a good Six Nations. I think malleability to go between 6, 7 and 8, also a big use in the Lions. He has done Lions duty before. He is good in the England team. It's an England team that didn't do well in the Six Nations. I think Gatland probably has the view to look beyond the last Six Nations particularly and look at who was good and who actually showed improvement. You can be in a bad team and play well yourself, and I think Tom Curry had a terrible game against Scotland, and just through the Six Nations alone you saw him get back to the level you know he should be at. I think he played very well, and I can definitely see Gatland wanting him there. And then the final one, I think you would want another number 8, like a proper number 8 rather than just Faletau, sort of Curry to fill in. So I think they'd want a number 8, and I can see a lot of people going for CJ Stander here. I've put down Matt Fagerson. This is mainly because I have no idea if CJ Stander is even allowed to go. He's announced his retirement. His contract runs out with Munster, I believe, on the 21st of June. And the first game of the tour is the 24th of June, I believe. So I genuinely don't know if he can even go. He announced retirement. I had to read up a little bit on it today. He said he's going to relieve himself from club level duty on that 21st, and international duty is done. So whether that means he'll also go out of the Lions, I'm not sure. Personally, I think he will pick CJ Standard there, but because of retirement, I'm going to sort of rule him out a bit. I'm going to go for Matt Fagerson. For me, he's the other number 8 that can actually put his hand up for this. I don't think Billy Vunipola is playing well at all. I think he's struggling. It's one thing to play well for Saracens against teams that you should be playing well against, but yeah, I don't think Billy Vunipola's done very well in the Six Nations at all. So to me, I think Matt Fagerson deserves a shot in that number 8. Again, Scotland coaches pushing for number 8, and I think he played well, especially picking the ball up from backfield, charging it down the line. That's a bit of a technique you won't see an awful lot from in South Africa, so good mix-up. I think that's the way they'll go. Moving on to the backs, scrum half duty. I think you'll want some experience here. I think he won't want to go too outrageous with chucking new people in. So for me, the first name nailed down has to be Conor Murray. Probably the most experienced, especially with like Lion stuff. I think he's very good. He definitely improved through the Six Nations. The box kicking he had in that game against England. Ireland played very well against England. I can't even talk. See how many times I mess up when I talk? When I'm actually on camera, it doesn't work completely well. I think he'll have to go in there. I also think he'll want a Wales scrum half. I don't think Gareth Davies is performing well. For me, I wouldn't take Gareth Davies, and can I imagine Gatland taking Gareth Davies? Maybe. But I just think he's not playing at his best form. Gatland will want a good player, and I think he'll want a Wales scrum half, because I've no doubt Dan Biggar will probably be going. So to me, I put down Thomas Williams here, and I wouldn't be surprised if he replaces Tom Williams with Kieran Hardy. The only thing is I cannot find anything out about Kieran Hardy's injury. He did go out, I believe it was a hamstring injury, took him out of the Six Nations. I haven't found anything about him recovering. I can't see him playing another game. I tried looking up news. I'm not sure if he's back from that injury. So I'm going to put Thomas Williams down here. For me, I think Thomas Williams is arguably the best scrum half in Wales at the minute. I think Kieran Hardy performed well at the Six Nations, so I wouldn't be surprised if he got in. But to me, I think Gatland would go for Thomas Williams as a main scrum half from Wales. And finally, the big call. A lot of people here would want to see Ali Price. I don't think Gatland will go for Ali Price. I think his box kicking's a little bit unreliable. There was an awful lot of charge downs in the Six Nations. I think he'll want reliability. And to me, I think that's where Ben Youngs comes in. Definitely had a bad start to the Six Nations, but again, definitely improving along with sort of Tom Curry there. Got his try against Wales, showing he's still got the dangerous sniping rungs, can throw the dummies. His own box kicking is a much higher standard, I would say, than Ali Price. So for me, I can definitely see him wanting a more dangerous scrum half. I think it would be a shame that Ali Price doesn't get to go. I just don't see Gatland go for him. So I'm going to go for Ben Youngs in that final scrum half position. Moving on to fly halves. Only 2 written down here. There's a reason why. First name written down, Johnny Sexton, was my team of the tournament, or my team that I would take on the Lions tour, sorry. Really hard to not have your own biases. I think Johnny Sexton has a good head on his shoulders, knows what he wants to do with the Lions team, experienced, a actual sort of fly half, points conceding, he's very good at getting over the posts. The distribution could maybe be a little bit better for him, but he's very good with the ball in hand. Not too wild-cardy, not going to be doing a lot of running. I think he's a pretty set fly half. He'll want to be in this Lions team. And finally, Dan Biggar for the final fly half position. Again, a lot of people I think will be sad here to not see Finn Russell. I think Finn Russell is a bit of a wild card for Gatland. Again, he likes his set structure, his set formula. He doesn't want someone doing something outrageous, which is what I think Finn Russell brings. It's a bit of magic, but I don't think it'll be what he wants in the Lions team, as well as the sort of arguments he's had with coaches. We know Finn Russell's experience with coaches hasn't always been the best. I mean, Gregor Townsend is in this Lions coaching staff. He's had his own issues with Finn Russell. I think he won't want competition or sort of issues going on. I think he want people he know he can rely on. I think he'll go for Dan Biggar. I think Sheedy could have even got a look in here, but I believe Sheedy picked up an injury last weekend, which I don't know how serious that's going to be. That could rule him out for the Lions tour, but for me, I'm going to go for Dan Biggar there. We'll move on to, what should we move on to? Centres. Let's do centres first. I've gone for 5 centres, but one of which is going to be Owen Farrell. A lot of people are going to be surprised by how many England players are in here, but I just think Owen Farrell brings that extra dimension to a team. He will come in sort of as a third fly half, but also play centre, where we get to see him play for England. I think it adds a nice little weight. He's not just your fly half. The number 12 distribute who can also play fly half does work when it works for England. At the top level, hasn't been that great for the Six Nations. But I think for the Lions, I think Gatland would be surprised to not use Farrell in that way. As well as captaincy roles, I know he sort of screams and chats a little bit, but leadership as well, especially coaching the backs. Got Alan Wynne in the front, you've got James Ryan in the front, Owen Farrell in the backs. I think it works pretty well, so I can definitely see Owen Farrell going in there. The first name I had nailed on for me, Robbie Henshaw, has to go. arguably player of the tournament. Again, superb Six Nations from him. Definitely going to see him going. Gary Ringrose, I can see being picked. Maybe for that 13 channel. Got to peter out a little bit towards the end of the Six Nations, but I think reliability-wise, you know what Gary Ringrose brings. I can definitely see him having a Lion shirt. From the Welsh, continue to see George North for me will definitely be going. We know how much Gatland loves George North. He can also go down as a bit of a power winger as well. He's a big boy, got a lot of weight. You've got to remember, South Africa are going to bring big guys. They're going to be going hard into this game. You want to bring big boys of your own. George North in the centre channel works well. And if you need him to, moving on to the wing, can play left or right wing, has played both. I think he works well there. I can definitely see Gatland bringing him. And then a final point again here. Some people won't have had this man included. I think Chris Harris will be going. One thing we know about Gatland, when we got to see him with Sean Edwards in their little co-op with the Wales team, you know how much he loves a defensive team. And to me, Chris Harris in that France game was so good. I sort of talked him down a little bit in the preview to that game, and he absolutely shone through. I think he was superb, and I think in terms of a dedicated 13, I think Chris Harris can be good. He can also play 12v1-2 on the inside centre. Prefer him in the outside centre to me, but I think defensively, very good. And if something's not going right for you, one of your wingers is down, you move George North onto that right wing, power winger on there, bring on Chris Harris, defensive 13 to fill in. I think it makes sense. I can see Gatland wanting to go down that wing. And again, with the Scotland contingency in there, Gregor Townsend, we know Gregor Townsend, big fan of Chris Harris. I can see him pushing for Chris Harris. And finally, the back three. Some big calls here. What a difficult department this is to go from. The first name, which I think everyone will have nailed down, and it would be very surprising if this man isn't in the team. Stuart Hogg has to go in. Starting fullback, probably for most games. Very, very solid players. Six Nations, best Six Nations I've seen him have for many years. Anyone who's watched the channel for long enough will know I'm not an enormous Stuart Hogg fan and haven't been for a couple of years. Really felt he was very overrated, and this tournament shot up, absolutely brilliant. Just everything he's been doing has been absolutely superb. Filled in at fly half if you need him to as well. Bit of a loose angle there. Probably wouldn't have him in at fly half. Didn't play the best in that Italy game, but I think he is very good and he can play in multiple positions. I would definitely have Stuart Hogg in there. One person I wouldn't take, but I can definitely see Gatland taking, is going to be Liam Williams. I wouldn't take him. I don't think he's in the best form of his life. He has had an awful lot of try-saving tackles, but has also been the last person to miss a tackle when a try was scored. But I think being able to swap between winger and fullback is a good sort of diversity to add in. Bring him off the bench, power sub maybe. Gatland loves Liam Williams. Under the high balls, very good. And when he's in form, he's a very good player. I can definitely see Liam Williams being in that team. Louis Rees-Zammit, I think, has to go. I would be astonished if he can't go. We know the relationship Gatland has with the Wales team. We know how good Rees-Zammit has been for Wales. Arguably has won some of those games. I mean, the Scotland game jumps to mind. Wales could have lost that game if Zammit wasn't just a machine, kicking over the top, the one-man army, interception tries, yet against Italy, sprinting the length of the field, the little chase he had, beating Johnny May and Anthony Watson and whoever else he beat in that game, trying to get to that try. I think he's so quick, and I think when you go up against people like, I imagine Cheslin Colby and Mapimpi will be getting on that wing for South Africa. Fast players, you need fast players too. I would love to see Rees-Zammit in that team, and I can definitely see Gatland going down that route, having the speed, and defensively it's been pretty sound as well. A name I think will go, who a lot of people will disagree with, I think Duhan van der Merwe will actually go. He was in my Lions tour, and I think a lot of people will think he won't go. His defensive work isn't great, and I think that will be the big negative. If he doesn't go on this tour, it will be because of his defensive work. It's not the best, and Gatland loves solid defence. We got to see it in that France game, missing the tackle on Penaud, leads to tries. He definitely needs to work on it, but I think, again, in terms of the game plan you want to bring, I think you either bring speed and finishes or power. And I think going up against people like Cheslin Colby, we know how fast he is. I think sometimes if you can't beat him for speed, you just need to muscle him into touch, where I think Duhan van der Merwe can bring it. Top try scorer of the tournament, can you ignore the results he gets? He has the most tackle breaks in the tournament. There's big stats behind him. I put him in my team, but I can completely understand why he wouldn't be in the team. I think a lot of people wanted to see maybe Anthony Watson in there. I don't think he'll go down the Anthony Watson route. Again, I think he's too similar to Zammit. I don't think you'd have an interchangeability. I think you want different options. I don't think I would go for Anthony Watson there. I think Duhan van der Merwe will get in the team, but might be one of the last names on the team sheet. And then finally, I think you want another winger, a dedicated winger. For me, I would want another dedicated left winger for if Duhan van der Merwe wasn't going well. I can see Josh Adams being picked for this Lions team. I wouldn't pick him. But I can see Gatland wanting to. Again, relationship with Josh Adams, we got to see through the Wales tours that he used to do. He loves Josh Adams on that left wing, and Josh Adams for a long time has been very good. Fell off in the last sort of year and a half, hasn't been impressing me, and then this Six Nations came back with a bit of a bang. Defensive work, shot up really well. The speed we still know is good. Finishing could use a bit of work. There was a couple of tries he missed, actually not getting the ball down when he got over the try line. Would like to see him work on his finishing just a little bit more, but I can definitely see Gatland wanting him. Stuart Hogg, Josh Adams and Rhys Zammit as a back three is a good pairing, and if Hogg got injured, you have Liam Williams. You've got your back three from Wales. That's the back three that just won the Six Nations. I don't think it's a bad manoeuvre. And one person I think could contest for that Josh Adams shirt could be Keith Earls. I think he's been massively overlooked in this tournament, just how good Keith Earls has actually been. Maybe Gatland will pick up on how much good work he's done from the bench. Superb. Starting, superb. He had the game against England, just carving through people. I think maybe Keith Earls could get in there, but I'm going to put my money on that he would go for Josh Adams over Keith Earls. But that's the call I'm going to go with. But like I said, guys, this isn't going to be my team for the Lions, so be friendly down in the comments. This is going to be who I think Gatland will go for. But that's just one man's opinion, of course. I'm not a world-class coach. He is, so I'm sure he'll probably pick a better team than I will, or pick a better team than I think he will of his own team. But make sure you drop down in the comments who you think he'll pick. It's quite a difficult task, actually, sitting down, not thinking about who you would pick, but thinking who someone else would pick. It's a really interesting thing, so make sure you drop it down in the comments. I'll be really interested to know what other people have. I'm going to see if other people on YouTube have done similar videos as well of who they think Gatland will pick, and it might be an interesting video in the future to do just to compare different people's things, see who wins, who's got the best prediction skills. Could be a bit of a laugh. But there we are, guys. That's going to be all from me today. I hope you've all enjoyed today, guys. I'm really looking forward to this Lions tour. I believe the actual team gets announced on May 6th. So we're not super far away from the actual team, so I cannot wait for that to be released. I hope you've all enjoyed today, guys. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.